Hey there, it's Monkey. We're going to do a quick video on building a chicken coop. If you've just beaten Yaglith, you may or may not know that Hildir now has eggs available for sale. They cost 1,500 gold for one, and you're probably going to want to buy 2 of them. But in order to protect that valuable treasure, you're also going to want to build some sort of defensive chicken coop back at your base. If you look on my screen here behind me, I've already built one. It's somewhat elaborate. You don't have to be as elaborate as mine with stone and crystal windows and stuff like that. We are going to build a stone one, though, that's a little more defensive than wood. You could just build all wood. But one key point about at least having a stone foundation is that sometimes when your hens grow up and lay eggs, they'll lay eggs on the other side of wood. The thicker stone is going to help prevent that from happening. So let's unpause and kind of take a look at what I've got going on so far. I basically just built, a stone foundation out of either one brick or 2 brick. There's an iron grate for the back here, and the reason why is we want to get the heat from the little campfire that we put down to radiate through the back of the back here. But we don't want the back to be like totally open for 2 reasons. One, chicks that hatch, though they're chickens, they might actually like run into the fire and catch themselves on fire, and you don't want that to happen. And the other reason why we want this grate here is that once it's all built up, if you kind of like can see over here on my completed coop, there's no way for anything to fly in. In other words, really, there's no way for bats to fly in. I think I've got my first hen going and my second chick going. So there's my little chicken. That's after the egg hatches, you get a little chicken. Let me get in here. And then behind the door, I should have there it is, a hen. So once I get 2 of these hens going, they're going to start laying eggs because they're going to be eating these seeds that I put down on the ground. And then they'll just start laying eggs, and those eggs will grow up like this guy grew up, as long as they're in a warm setting. So we have the fire to provide warmth. That causes the eggs to hatch, and we have the seeds to feed the hens to cause them to lay more eggs. We're going to be using let me pull up this little pic I got here. We're going to be using the eggs for omelets, and we're going to be using the chicken for the honey chicken. And those are going to be 2 of the foods that are going to carry us pretty much through the Mistlands all the way up to the Queen. Now, you'll notice this chicken is not coming out after me, which is nice. And I'll explain how that is at this point, because usually they'll run pretty good. Now that the sun's up a little higher, you can kind of see what's going on here with my 2x1 bricks. If I want to lay, again, you could start with a brick foundation and switch to wood, or you could do all wood if you want, but I tend to go with stone. If you're short on stone for some reason, even though you should have a pretty good stockpile at this point, if you're short on stone, there are these pillars out in the plains that when you separate them from the ground, you get a rain of stone. You'll get, I got about 350 plus stone from one of those. Or just kind of go out and knock down these giant stone, things you find out and about in, around your base. So if you like to design your stuff to look a little aesthetic, you can off-center your bricks. That's why I'm using 1 square bricks and 2 square bricks, so it looks a little better like that. Also, you see how I have these glass windows inset in here? You don't have to do that. If you want it the safest it could possibly be, you would just build it all with stone. And wrap it around this way. So again, this is really more of the fortified way to do it. It's not too important to have this glass here. It's just kind of like a way for me to, like, if you see, I can kind of actually peek in here and see that little chick on the other side of the thing, so I can see when they're grown up or not. However, crystal does have way less durability. It's got like 10 durability for a block. If you do use crystal for your windows, I would actually recommend you taking these bricks out and setting your crystal windows in towards the inside, particularly if you're going to be under attack by bats or seekers or whatnot from the Mistlands. If you have your crystal on the outside, that makes it an easier target to hit with damage, residual damage. So, for example, if I'm fighting something, that's just broken, right? But if I'm swinging back here, you notice how, like, it just makes it a little bit safer to inset it. So, that's what I would recommend. Put your crystal towards the inside of the window, kind of like you can see how I have it set already in there. Just makes it a little more defensive as far as that goes. You could also, instead of crystal, you could do iron, like I have these iron grates here. You could just do a big iron grate for your windows. If you're, this is like, in my situation, I don't need crystal on the back side of my wall over here because it's just connected to my base, so it's just stone and then wood on the other side. And then with the campfire here, we're just going to put one right here. Now, you would need to protect the campfire from rain so that when, the weather changes, you don't want your campfire getting damp and therefore your eggs not hatching. So you can just grab a couple posts, I would, that's being particular in laying things out so that everything's lined up, which can be useful when you're trying to make sure everything is like perfect. So get a couple posts here, and then we'll just continue building our wall up a couple more levels. Again, you don't have to use these 1x2s. Really, the most economical way to do it is just doing, the most economical way is these 2x1s for the most part. I wouldn't use the 1 squares unless, again, you want like that sort of like look, or you want to put in windows or whatnot. So, for example, like if I'm just duplicating the look that I have over here, I may need to make some adjustments. This is actually pretty well lined up between the two. You'll notice over here my door is actually a little bit higher to block out. Notice, like, here, I'll show you in a second. Just take that out for a second. Do that. So you just keep building it up to make it around. Now, crystal has to be supported by stone. That's why I have to add that other level to put it up there. You can't have crystal like unattached, and you can't just attach crystal to itself. Let me grab a... So what we're going to do is we're going to put a wood beam in the ground here, and then we're going to stick a door on top of that. Yeah. So in raising the door up a little bit, it helps reduce your chicks getting out. And then also notice over here, this is a beam that I stuck in front of the door. You're gonna have to maybe make a couple tweaks to... This is holding down shift, by the way. To put that door up so high, I held down the shift key, so that raised it up a little above the edges of the glass there. The issue you're going to run into... Oh, I stirred the cauldron, so here come more bats. Okay. Look at that. They laid an egg. So. Great. It's working. It just proved again that my little hen house works good. I do have one egg. One finally grew up, and so now I've got one egg. Egg. Now, in this situation, it doesn't matter if the crystal, so again, we have to attach it to an object that's not more crystal. It doesn't matter that those don't line up. It's actually just going to be sunk into the stone when we put the stone flooring across the top. So, and that's how I know it's a little more expensive to do stone flooring. But it's supported. Well, okay, that didn't work. have to connect it the other way first. So there we go. And then let me grab that stone right there. There. So you notice it's all green, so that's pretty solid support structure there for the floor. And the floor is pretty durable. That serves as a roof if we come inside here. So you'll open the door. The big test, particularly before you start throwing eggs down, is can you fit through the door? So clearly I can fit through the door. I do have to hop, which is a good sign to kind of get in. Getting out isn't a big deal. I can kind of walk out the door, but it's a little bit of a hiccup to do it. Again, not a big deal. If you want, you could raise the door up higher and whatnot, but I pretty much for the most part having this lip here is going to be how you keep the little chicks from getting out. And then we gotta finish closing the across the top of this grate here. Okay, and then we just need to put a 45-degree angle roof hanging down from the top. That's going to give you most of your protection right there. You can, make it a little more elaborate if you want. You could use stone if you wanted to surround it. Again, sometimes you get wind and rain from the sides, so that's why I kind of put crystal in here. Also, I kind of wanted a little more light out in my, yard area, so I ended up doing crystal glass. It's going to be the same situation. It's got to connect to something. In this case, you have to connect it to the post to get that to show up. But even if something comes and breaks this crystal, it can't get to the chickens without going through the iron grate or going through the stone at that point. And like I said, if you wanted, I don't have any iron on me right now, but you could put a cage wall on the outside here if you still wanted the crystal to be able to see through to monitor your hens that way. Or you could just take out the crystal and use an iron grate instead. However, I have noticed sometimes that if you do it that way, there's a chance that you could actually wind up with a hen somehow on the lip of your stone right there. It's a little weird, but it's not a huge deal. It's just that may happen. When they grow up, sometimes they pop up onto that location. Also remember, the smoke has to vent. So the setup I did here, it's already been tested out to show if I go up any higher with the glass on the edge here, it'll choke the smoke from the fire and it'll dampen the fire, and we don't really want that. So you got to leave some sort of opening. You could create a different chimney if you wanted to. You could build it out of stone or whatever or whatnot, but like I said, I kind of want. Not going in the right location. I prefer some visibility out into my yard. I'm not building this for any reason other than to demonstrate what I've done with it. You don't have to put beehives up on top of there. I just did it to get them out of my yard. But that's pretty much it. All you would do is you come inside here, and if you have shelter and fire, as is showing up on there, so you're warm, then you know that you can just drop an egg down in there and they will hatch. All they really need is that setup to do it. So we'll open this door back up, and look, we've got 2 hens now. I've got these eggs sitting on the ground that I can pick up. I just laid another one. That one says it's too cold, but we'll give it a minute to tick over into warm land. You see we have a fire, and now it's warm. But yeah, so that other chicken I had grew up. They're busy eating the turnip seeds and laying eggs. One piece of advice on that too is to pick up an egg just in case. Awesome, more eggs. Is to pick up an egg and put it away. Put it away somewhere to save it in case something does happen and you're, get under attack and something really wrecks your coop and happens to wipe out all your chickens. Take an egg, eventually 2 eggs, and set them aside somewhere just so you can have, a backup in case things go really wrong. That's it. It's kind of a basic stone hardened chicken coop. Again, if you wanted even more defensive, I would just take out the windows and the window dressing around the door, and you could just do stone. Then you would have to open the door to monitor things going on. You can kind of look in here. I can see from outside the window, there's still seeds because I still see the sparkle from the seeds that I threw on the ground. So I know that when they run out, I can go and grab, more seeds to throw in. And as far as that, the chickens will eat pretty much every type of seed. You can even throw in beech seeds or birch seeds or dandelions, as well as any of the seeds that you're normally using to plant stuff. One other thing of note, I left this corner out of the, my crystal glass here for the campfire, and that's really just so I can, through this opening right here, I can just throw more wood on the fire. So rather than having to knock something out, it just gives me the ability to just chuck something in there. And I'm not worried because I have an iron grate. I'm not worried about anything getting in to attack the eggs or chickens or hens that I have in there. And if you want an even crazier variation on a chicken coop, you just come to one of these, like a burial chambers or a troll cave or whatever, and inside of these, there are only a couple things that you can build. One would be campfires, the other one would be signs. So in this case, I've already cleared this place out. I actually closed the doors because the doors are built in. And I just put a campfire behind each door and a couple signs to block passage down the hallways. And then I can just close those doors just as an added layer. I mean, if you wanted it to be lighter, it can be. And then I have this campfire here. It's not really necessary. It's just extra light so you can kind of see what's going on in this room. It's already decently bright. I'm kind of glancing over at my monitor over here to see that you can see pretty well. But in this area, I could be, you can see I've got fire going. So I could be, putting eggs and chickens and using this as my little off-site, chicken coop kind of thing. Nothing's gonna kill them in here. They can't escape out the front. They can't walk out the door. So you can just come in here and deal with them as you will at that point. For me, it's not very far from my base to run up to there. If you had a base farther away from a, troll cave or burial chambers or even a sunken crypt, you could, put a portal next to it. So yeah, I think that covers a couple things you can do to make chicken coops. Like you saw in the little food menu that I pulled up for Mistland's food, getting access to eggs and getting chicken is part of my end game plan, or at least my Mistland's plan for food. So of the types of animals that you can keep and breed and stuff like that, boar, wolf, and whatnot, chickens are very much, at least in the current end game as far as food goes. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next video. Take care. Bye.